Well, welcome back to the Deal Room, everyone. We are back with another episode. Now, where we left off, we were talking about under the covers, the ones and the zeros, the code, the architecture, how technology is put together. I want to take us maybe up a level and talk about the product that's being purchased, typically a technology product, technology-based product, and what sort of work we typically do when it comes to product due diligence. Now, this is multifaceted as well. We will look at a bunch of different things about the market, for example, that the products are really being marketed and brought into. Now, it's an existing market, but also potentially a market that our acquirer or the company typically we're working for will be trying to, starting to expand upon, right?
And what's the suitability of fit in that target market?
Yeah, exactly. Also, how well would this product fit with the other products that the company may sell, for example?
Customer experience layer.
Can they be integrated together? Can they be cross-sold with each other? There are a bunch of different avenues that we can go down. And it's interesting because this particular topic, some of it is discovered after an LOI would be signed, but a lot of it can also be discovered beforehand. And we talked about that in previous episodes.
So now you're working with the team, and we were exploring, when we looked at the source code asset, what's been created, over what time frame, and what sort of revision history has been built up in the code base. So now if we tack on some of the other due diligence artifacts that we'll have sought access to, reviewed and sampled off, we'll have found what features were released when, how were they then published to the market, maybe feature toggled or otherwise made available to select customer group first, but then more broadly made available. How has the product evolved to the point that it's got to? And then, using that data, as we extrapolate forward, what are you trying to do with this product? What market opportunity are you trying to exploit? And what's the sort of the velocity? What's the company doing now? There's going to be some drag attached to actually being acquired. We have to factor that in as well. But if you've got a company that's consistently shipping good quality outcomes to customers, and the evidence base is there, and we can read that back as part of the diligence, the confidence grows. This is a good one. We can acquire this and we can get the value out of it.
Another aspect is that of product management, and depending on the size of the company that we're looking to acquire, there may be a specific person or team responsible for product management. Sometimes it's merged in with the marketing group or the sales group as well, depending on the organisational layout. But typically, this person will have a role to be an expert in the market, in their customer base, what the customers are asking for. And this person or team are typically charged with planning out the next year or two of releases of the product and of the features that are being brought to the product to keep it up with the competition, to get it continuing to expand into other markets and that sort of thing. And that's one of the areas of capability of also documentation and evidence that we'll go and look at. Some of this can be PowerPoint and slideware, which is not unusual, but typically we'll see those types of people in those roles create interview documentation about interviews that they've had with customers, also
case studies,
all sorts of things,
battle
like
cards.
Yeah. I always find it's also my biggest personal challenge when doing diligences is just sorting out the present from the future.
Yes,
because you're dealing with the folks who are very focused there at the coalface, dealing with the customers, outlining what's going to happen. But in such a fast-moving field like technology, working out what's there, what's really there, what's going to be there, does any of this actually match with what you as an acquirer want, is often one of the most difficult pieces to ascertain. We found through a lot of deals.
We have, and I'd add that sometimes there's a flagship customer that has pushed the product in a certain direction and has validated in a certain use case. It may even be a bit of a weird use case, but it's great that it's been out, it's great that it's been validated, but it might effectively need to be productized back from that very customer-oriented solution.
Yep.
So that's really interesting as well, to try and peel that back, relate it to the architecture. Is it something that's going to end up a Frankenstein once it's been through all these chops and changes, or is it something that's got some architectural good bones on it, if you will.
Competitive intelligence is another area that we play in quite a lot too, and that's looking at the other companies that are selling into a particular market to see how the product competes or the technology competes that you're looking to acquire. So that's an important part too. Really interesting aspect beyond the low level technology is looking at that product and how these companies have brought them to market. What about scaling, Luke?
Well, here the normal puzzle we're given, what's going to happen with this product, and it does relate to the deal rationale and the maturity of the company. Sometimes the PE companies we're working with, they're pretty much maintaining the existing customer base and running off a pretty valid, viable company. But a lot of the time we're talking about companies on a growth curve. So they will say 10x. We want to check that 10x growth, x being the number of customers and the amount of volume being done today, 10x is viable, or 100x. And then at what point would certain, example, database sharding techniques need to be considered, or other scaling points that worry the engineers? But realistically, they won't have solved yet because they're not there. So what we're looking for is that it's a team that's capable of solving those sorts of challenges that are going to come up.
Yeah, look, I find it's in addition to all those challenges I spoke about earlier, it's probably the most exciting creative part of a diligence, because it's where you've got to knuckle down and look at those really tough challenges like, well, will it break if we try and throw 100 times the amount of people at it? But also you get very future focused and looking at where you can take it, which is the exciting part as
the
well.
Blue sky, as we can call
yep.
it. But here's another one which has sometimes puzzled the teams. They've been dealing English only.
Right.
And then the acquirer wants an international product. And people say, oh, well, I'll just put a different language in the user interface. It's something like that, right?
Internationalisation.
And localization.
Yeah. It's a particular topic, and it goes right back to the source code, and it's got its own aspects. There's accessibility for those companies that want to take a product and make sure the various accessibility guidelines are met for people who may have disabilities that need to use the technology. So a whole bunch of these aspects need to get factored into the product roadmap, and assessing it is what that section's all about.
Readiness in the view of bringing it to market through a different channel is another important one. We see a lot of the time larger companies buying technologies from perhaps a smaller organisation that may not have sold through a worldwide channel with distributors, channel partners, all of that sort of thing. And along with that, you need to build out assets and training materials and all of those types of things.
Even basics, ease of install. How often is the immature product mopping up quite a lot of effort and time when it's going to be installed per client?
Yeah.
But at scale, that's just going to kill the team if
exactly.
that continues.
As a small company, that's great. It's a chance for professional services revenue. But if you want to scale that, then it's an entirely different ballgame.
Yep, exactly right. And I sort of generically put that under the banner of making sure that the engineers are not being distracted. Keep them heading towards that goal of the next release, and bringing in those other departments to be able to assist in really, making the product a success. Well, with that, there's another episode done from the deal room. The next episode, what is it? Organisation. We're going to talk about culture, organisation, team layout, what to do when there's office sprawl, all that sort of stuff. We'll see you real soon.